Hello, I'm Susan Morgan. I'm the founder and director of Indivisible Marin, and I'm very pleased that you're here with us for our meeting, 6 months to save democracy, an action plan for citizens. Thank you for your patience with our Zoom glitch. I'm glad that so many of you found your way here.
Get them in. Where am I?
Betsy, can you start the slides? And
Yes, I will.
everyone on steering, if you could mute yourself, that would be great.
Oh, just a minute. I didn't share let me just start again because I needed to share my sound. Hang on just a second and we will start again. Share sound. Okay, ready to roll.
Excellent. Okay, we can go to the next slide. Yeah, these are just some housekeeping items. We love it when people keep their video on. It helps us to not be just talking to black squares, but if it's not possible, we understand. Also love it if you'd introduce yourself in the chat. Always great to know who's here and where you live, and anything you want to say about yourself, so we kind of know our audience a bit more. Because it's a large meeting, we will keep everyone muted throughout, and we'll be taking questions from the chat. So small questions we'll answer in the chat during the meeting, and then the more nuanced, detailed questions we will take during the Q&A portion of the meeting. And we also love an active chat in terms of shout outs, words of inspiration. That's always a plus as well. Next slide, please. Proceed. One thing we want you guys to know is just relax, sit back, and enjoy listening. We have all the links and all the details on our website at indivisibleMarin.org. And we're also recording the meeting, and we'll send it out to everybody after the meeting, as well as posting it to our website. And an intro, many of you here are new to Indivisible Marin, so we want to just give you a top-line overview. Our mission is taking action to create a more just, caring, and inclusive America. And during election years, we work to help elect Democrats to both chambers of Congress, as well as the White House. And then in off-election years, we don't rest. We do advocacy with elected officials to promote a government of, by, and for the people. We've grown to now nearly 5,000 members, with a third of our members in Marin, a third in other parts of California, and a third in other states. So we are a small national organization now. And because of that, we have the majority of our events and our voter outreach opportunities are virtual, so people can participate from anywhere. Next slide, please. And this is our commitment to our volunteers. We want everyone who's volunteering even 1 hour via Indivisible Marin to rest assured that that hour will be impactful. We do a lot of research on the most important races, the most important actions, so that every hour you spend is truly leveraged. Our steering committee brings decades of experience from a range of careers and backgrounds to the team, so that we have been able to develop very solid systems, staffing, and infrastructure. And most importantly, from our very inception, we have emphasized the importance of community in this work. Feeling like you're part of a group of like-minded people who have the same passion, the same dedication to preserving democracy, preserving our freedoms, is what keeps us all motivated and coming back. And so we do a lot of things to encourage a sense of community, Zoom happy hours, actual happy hours. We have a recruitment team that reaches out to each person individually. So we do our very best to make you feel like you're a part of an organization, and you have a home base. So this is our agenda. We're so delighted that Jessica Craven, who I'm sure many of you know, and I will introduce shortly, is going to be opening the meeting with some words of inspiration. And then Lori Friedman from our steering committee, who is our electoral advisor, will give us the lay of the land of the races that are important in this cycle. Then various members of our steering committee, who are also the program leads, will walk you through all of the ways that you can participate to do the voter outreach work that will increase turnout, which will help Dems win in November. And then, okay, and then we're going to introduce a program that's actually not part of Indivisible Marin, but a side project that we're very excited about, and then give you guys a call to action. Because the meeting's so jam-packed, we are going to have the Q&A start at the top at 5:30, so that will be optional. Next slide, please. So now it's my great pleasure to introduce Jessica Craven, who is one of my most admired activists and organizer role models, I guess I should say. Jess is a mom, a veteran activist, and the author of the daily actions email Chop Wood, Carry Water. She's also the creator of both Activism 101 and Democracy 101, which are free workshops that have activated and engaged thousands of new to politics Americans, and has a TikTok following of over 300,000 people. She's committed to teaching all Americans how to use their voices to strengthen and shape our democracy. And one of the things that has always struck me about Jess and why she's such an important role model to me is she walks her talk more than any political influencer I know. If she's not busy with one of the many actions I've already listed, you can usually find her encouraging volunteers at meetings like this, or making phone calls at a phone bank, or knocking doors in a crucial district. It is a great honor to have Jessica open our meeting today. Welcome, Jess.
Oh, thank you, Susan. That was a beautiful introduction. Can you guys hear me okay? Yeah,
Yes.
good sound. All right, good. Hi. Thank you so much, IndiMarin. You guys are amazing. I am so inspired by the work you do. And, don't be fooled by any small Zoom glitches, which oh my God, we all have had. Running any kind of Zoom workshop is just, Google Slides. But this group is incredible and does amazing, amazing work. And I see you. I am looking at the women who are on the steering committee, and I'm really bowled over. So it is really wonderful to be here. I'm just going to speak. Oh, wait, I'm going to set my timer because I'm really trying to keep to my time limit so that we have time for everything else we want to get to. And my general job here today is just to give a little, I don't want to say like a pep talk, but it is it's a tough moment. And I mean, it is tough in the sense that many of us have been doing this activism now since 2016, late 2016, and it has felt fairly relentless. And so the reason my newsletter is called Chop Wood, Carry Water, as a lot of you know, is just to sort of instill in us this idea that like we may get tired, we may have days where we feel a lot of despair, we may have days where we have big wins, and no matter what is happening, we keep taking the actions. And that's what, the people in Indivisible Marin and so many of you are models of, is just that like on the hard days, we chop wood, carry water. On the easy days, we chop wood, carry water. And right now, as we all know, it's just been like a series of very hard days for a while now, right? I mean, it's just been a tough, whatever, 6 months, year, 6 years, however you want to parse your time. But so I just want to say, first of all, how grateful I am that all of you are here and that you're all ready still to do this work and get us through the next 6 months. As I've reminded my newsletter subscribers a few times in the last week or two, 6 months really is a long time in politics. A lot of things can happen and will happen. And so I'm just going to go over, I had written a thing at the beginning of the year that was sort of like New Year's resolutions for 2024. And Susan had asked me to sort of review some of those. So I'm just going to talk about some of the ways I get through this rather relentless era that we're living through. And they are sort of the New Year's resolutions I pointed up in the beginning of the year, but they're like best practices for sort of getting through this tough time and all of this time. So, you know, first of all, the first one being just, I committed at the beginning of the year, and I've commit every morning, basically, like I'm going to do everything I can to help save democracy. I'm helped by having sort of a primary purpose in my life. And that is one of my primary purposes. And I think that for all of us, it is right now, right? Our primary purpose is to help save democracy and do whatever that looks like in any given day. And that really helps to guide my actions. My second resolution, and one of the ways that I get through these difficult times, and this is really, really important, is look for the good news and spread it relentlessly. We live in a moment where our entire ecosystem is set up to draw us towards bad news and amplify bad news and make us feel like there is no good news. And yet at the same time, the Biden administration and Democrats all over the country, and, you know, also people in the rest of the world, are doing extraordinary things. And if we don't stop and focus on those things, we are going to wither from the sort of relentlessness of the bad news. So look for good news. This is what I do. I will not tell you what to do. I'm just going to tell you what I do. I look for good news and I spread it relentlessly. If I see an article that Biden just did something great, or, you know, something great just happened with the EPA or with the whatever Department of Labor, I stop and I spread that news because people need to hear it. I need to hear it. And I believe that what we focus on grows. My third resolution is I will ask everyone I talk to if they are registered to vote. And this really is important, that as we get closer and closer to this election, not only that we sign up for voter registration drives and, you know, write postcards for Field Team 6 or whatever, but also that we just make voting and the stakes of this election a regular part of our conversation with people who may not be aware. And this is my constant reminder to people who maybe don't phone bank and talk to voters all the time, that when you start talking to voters, you will realize very quickly that a lot of people are not paying any attention at all, either because they're just overwhelmed or they are too busy working 3 jobs or whatever their reasons. They don't know. And when they do know, they start to care. So our job really between now and November 7th is to make sure people are registered, make sure they're checking their registration monthly, because so many states purge registrations. Wyoming just purged 22% of their registered voters because they didn't vote in the 2022 elections. So really talking to people about checking their voter registration, getting registered, and understanding the stakes of this election. Not to be fearmongers, but show them the Time magazine article, the interview with Trump, if you need a piece of a thing to show them. It's a little bit briefer than Project 2025, and it might help them to understand the stakes. Really talking a lot about third-party voters. I'm just finishing up a TikTok about Robert Kennedy Jr. Fun fact about Robert Kennedy Jr. that most people don't know: half of the people supporting him, and this is according to Celinda Lake, who has been doing focus groups with his supporters, half of them think he is his father. Okay, again, they think he is his father, who is dead and who died the year I was born. But these are very low information voters. They don't know anything about him other than his last name is Kennedy, and they think maybe he's his dad. And so again, going back to just talking to voters and informing them, he's not his father, and any vote for a third-party candidate is going to give us a Trump presidency. So again, just those really gentle, not shaming, but informing conversations are really important. And to remind people of the Rebecca Solnit quote, voting is a chess move, not a Valentine. We don't have to love who we're voting for. We're playing chess. And before I move on to the next one real quick, I will just say that I just made a TikTok about the how voting for a president is also voting for their administration. And it was really effective. And it reminded me that this is a really important thing for us to talk about. You don't have to like Biden, but you can love his Secretary of Labor, who is phenomenal and fighting for workers. You can love his FTC chair, who is breaking up mergers and stopping horrible mergers and suing companies like Amazon and Google. You can love his EPA chair, who is banning chemicals that have, needed to be banned 30 years ago and are just getting banned now because of him. So really informing voters again about that. My fifth sanity keeping tactic is ignoring polls. And I mean ignoring them. I don't care if they're good. I don't care if they're bad. I do not pay attention to polls because they cannot help me. Action can help move the needle. Polls cannot. And we have been so bamboozled by polls so many times. I'm going to urge you to just screen them out. Screen them out. They have no purpose for us. We're going to do the same thing regardless. So why pay attention? And on that note, I want to really encourage us all to stay in the day. If you hear a poll that says, oh, the youth are fleeing Biden and we're 6 months away. So I like to bring myself back to the day and say, what can I do today? I can't control what's going to happen in 6 months. I can't control the youth. I can't control RFK. I can't control Cornel West. I can't control a lot of things. But I can control whether I'm talking to voters today or writing postcards or writing 5 vote forward letters or knocking doors or doing something to help. That's what I can control. I want to remind everybody to eat and sleep and take care of yourself and take breaks from social media. We really need to remember that self-care is a part of this process. That doesn't mean I get to sit on my couch and watch TV all the time. But if I don't take some breaks to get downtime and recreate, I'm going to burn out. And burning out is no good to anybody. So please remember to take care of yourself. Go where it's warm. In other words, look for calm, determined, and generally hopeful sources of information. We all know who they are: Simon Rosenberg, Robert Hubble. There's lots of them. Look for the people who are not just saying we're doomed, but who are saying we're going to be okay as long as we do the work. And here's what the work is, and it's going to be okay. Let's stay positive and do the work. If someone is just making me feel afraid and anxious, I unsubscribe. I cannot be around that. I need to stay positive enough to keep going because I have a kid to protect and a democracy to help save. And if you feel the same, please go where it's warm. Remember the saying, the many are more powerful than the money. We have seen it proven over and over and over again, right? Remember all the elections we have been through where they have said, oh, the Koch brothers are pouring tens of millions of dollars into this, or the Uline family is pouring, the Wisconsin Supreme Court election, or Ohio's issue 1, or we could go on and on. We've been up against huge money over and over and over again, and over again we've won. So when you start to hear about Trump raising, $100 million from the donors who want him to win because they want his tax cuts, remember, our organizing is more powerful than their dark money, and we've proven it. We've proven we can win. We've proven we know how to do this. We have proven we are more powerful than the Koch brothers and the Uline brothers and whoever else is out there trying to stop us. So take heart and remember these words, which I believe are from Heather Booth originally. The many are more powerful than the money, and that's my time. So I will just close with this last thing, which I wrote in this resolutions post. Write the following and post it on your bathroom mirror on a little Post-it note. The object in this mirror is stronger than it appears. Please remember this. It is really important. We're all going to have days where we feel weak, we feel dispirited, we feel like we want to give up. It's overwhelming. I can't do this. It's too much. You're stronger than you think. We have been through 7 years of this and we have survived. And not only that, we have thrived. We will continue to. So don't believe the hype. Trust in who you are and who we are, what we have done, and what we know we are capable of doing. We are going to be okay because of all of you. And I genuinely believe that, and I know that in my heart. So I hope that was really helpful. And regardless, get ready to hear about great ways that you can get involved, and in getting involved, feel better, stronger, and more hopeful every day. So thanks again for having me, and I look forward to hearing the rest of the presentation.
Jessica, as always, you're so moving, bringing tears to my eyes, really. The part about looking in the mirror, it really depends on each of us. And thank you for all your many words of wisdom and for joining us today. It really means a lot. So Betsy, we can start sharing the slides again, and we'll now have Lori Friedman give us the walk through the lay of the land.
Hi, everyone. Wow, that was amazing, Jess. Thank you so much. I am going to just cover quickly the sort of overview of the election. Can't say it enough that democracy is on the ballot, but we have a lot of advantages going into this year. We get a general election bounce, Democrats do, compared to the midterms. That's our demographic just tends to vote a little more irregularly and comes out higher when there's a president's race on the ballot. We've had a lot of momentum, and Jess spoke to that earlier. We've overperformed consistently, especially in the last couple of years. We have momentum going into this election. And we have a huge fundraising advantage. Democrats can't always say that, but it is definitely the case this year, from the presidential races through the Senate races and down to the House, to the super PAC funding. We have never been in such a strong position financially. So we have the great candidates. We have money. We have the money. What we are looking for, and the challenge right now, that final piece, is the volunteerism. And all of you being here on this call tonight, certainly answers that call. We need to continue to outpace the Republicans with our volunteerism. We are better set up for that. And that's why we're here tonight, to talk about how we can actually get the work done. Next slide, please. Our goal is a trifecta. We want to re-elect President Biden and Vice President Harris, and keep the White House. We need to keep the Senate, and it's not nearly as pessimistic a proposition as the news will make it out to be. We are hoping for that 50-50 majority again. We will lose West Virginia with Joe Manchin not running, and we have 7 seats that are considered toss-ups, a statistical tie, a battleground, however you refer to them. But we're in a great position in all of them to keep those seats: Arizona, Nevada, Michigan, even Montana and Ohio, Pennsylvania and Wisconsin. We have fantastic candidates. We are way ahead fundraising wise, and we're getting a really strong head start. For the House side, we want to retake the majority. Also, it's a clear path to doing that. We just need to net 4 seats, because we've already picked up 1 in New York with George Santos's seat. There are about 25 of those seats that fall into that purple toss-up statistical tie range. That's a lot, but here in California, we have 5 of them. So we are definitely the road to the House. The numbers you'll hear there are 13 and 22 in our Central Valley, 27 and 41 down in Southern California. Those are our opportunities to flip a Republican-held seat. And then we have a very important hold that we're focused on here, 47 down also in Southern California. Next slide, please. This is a great map, courtesy of Swing Left. This shows you the states that you're going to hear a lot about this year. Those states with a yellow stripe are the presidential states. The turquoise stripes are Senate seats, and there are quite a lot there's an overlap there between those two. The red states, the red stripes, are those states that have a lot of House races, and then the blue, the dark blue stripe, are those 3 or 4 states this year that have big governor races. Next slide, please. Our organizing philosophy mirrors that electoral map. We are going to offer programs for our volunteers where you're going to have the biggest impact. We are going to work in the most competitive races in the country, those that are crucial to controlling all 3 areas there. And we do that by recognizing that what we can do as an out-of-district volunteer group, the postcard writing, the phone banking and the texting, it definitely moves that needle. It definitely has an impact, but we want that to be maximized, and we want that to be in races that have a very small margin. Working in states and races where you need to clear a larger margin is better done with other tactics. We are experts at those out of district areas, and we're going to be working in the very closest races. On top of that, even though races may be equally considered toss-ups, they're not equally resourced. And one of the things that we do here is we take our strategy a step further and we look at races that are under-resourced comparatively. And not all states have the same level of organization, have the same level of volunteers, have the same amount of money. So we work primarily in areas where there's a comparative need for volunteers. And lastly, we want to make sure that once we identify those areas that we have strong partners to work with. We're the worker bees. We make the phone calls, we write the postcards, but we need a strong partner who has good voter lists that are strategically curated to create sub-lists of people that will be most impacted by a given campaign. For instance, working with young women around reproductive freedom, or low frequency voters in rural areas. We want to make sure that we are working with groups that are able to target that. And then lastly, we want to make sure that we have platforms that are easy for you to use, to make phone calls, to send the texts, and that have that strong technical support that we're going to need. So next slide, please. That gives us our partners that we're working with this year. And we're extremely proud and very excited to be working with these organizations to put you all in the most impactful places. We're working with the California Democratic Party, which has sort of remade itself in the last few years into a national group now that we're sort of a perennial road to the House. We'll be doing our phone banking through them. Activate America is the leading postcard organization in the country. They were actually founded here and located here in the Bay Area. They've been working in California since 2017. They have incredibly strong voter lists. We'll be doing all of our postcard writing through at the Senate level and the House level through them. We are a DNC hub this year. That means we'll be working with the DNC to offer phone banking for the Biden-Harris campaign, as well as all of the Senate races, those 7 Senate races. And the Bay Area Coalition is a partner of ours. They are a group of grassroots groups here in the Bay Area that have formed that really serve the Central Valley. They do phone banks, but they do almost all of the canvassing there. 70% of the volunteers that work in the Central Valley come from the Bay Area. There are 2 of the most flippable seats in the country are there, and we'll be working with the coalition to do our canvassing. And then lastly, we're adding the Democratic Congressional Campaign Committee this year. That is the arm of the DNC that works at the House races. They are sponsoring nationwide a congressional texting campaign. That's the first time that's ever been done. We've already started that work here in California, pre-primary for us, and we'll be continuing that through the year. So we're extremely excited about the year. We're so glad to see all you tonight. And I'm going to turn it over to Betty now to talk about our phone banking team.
I'm sorry, was I muted for all that?
Yeah.
Okay, I suddenly got a little sign across my screen. Anyway, everybody, I'm Betty Von Glan, and I am really happy to be here to tell you about phone banking. I co-lead the phone team along with Lori Friedman and 10 wonderful mentors. I'm going to talk a little bit about the power of phone banking as a tool, and then tell you just how much we hope you will phone bank with IndiMarin. We know you have a choice of many phone banks. As Lori said, we do strategically choose our campaigns. We respect your time, and your time is well spent with us. We have a team of patient, friendly mentors. They come to every phone bank and provide training and support until you are comfortable and really ready to begin calling. We also focus, as Susan said, on building community at IndiMarin. We really think the volunteers' experience goes beyond just the program that they are taking action with. And so like in phone banking, after you've made your calls, we have a debrief, and that is really an important part of the phone bank and where we do build community. I'll talk a little bit more about that in a minute. Next slide, please. Okay, so let's be real. There are many people who have fears about phone banking. So I thought I would address those and then just share the reality of phone banking as we experience it. So a common fear, people will say, voters resent the interruption of a phone call. But the reality is many people really welcome the information that we provide. We are giving them the information to exercise their right to vote. We're telling them where polling places are, or where the ballot drop boxes are for their ballots, or the dates for early voting in person. So very specific information about voting. Some people say, you know, people never answer their phones. It's just a waste of time. Well, our dialer connects us directly when a human voice answers. So we very rarely get voicemail messages. So you will be having conversations when you call. A third fear is that MAGA voters won't be persuaded. We don't expect you or want you to take time to persuade a MAGA voter, but also the good news is you're not going to get many, if any, MAGA voters, because our partners provide us with lists of Democrats and independents to call. We are trying to identify our supporters, inform them of the details related to voting, and turn them out as voters, whether they're mailing in that ballot or voting early in person or showing up on election day. We want to turn them out. And the fourth biggest fear that a lot of people mention is that it's just uncomfortable talking to strangers. And I guess the only thing I would ask you to think about is, wouldn't it be more uncomfortable if Donald Trump won? So really weigh that one. Okay, next slide, please. So right now we're calling in California's Central Valley for Rudy Salas. He's an outstanding candidate running against a Republican incumbent, David Valadao. And Rudy is from the Central Valley, very attuned to the needs and wants of the people in the Central Valley. He served 10 years in the assembly there. And if elected, he will be the first Latino ever elected from California's Central Valley to Congress. Then on June 1st, we're going to be adding calls for Biden and Harris and for various Senate races. So really, as of June 1st, when you come to one of our phone banks, you will have a choice of calling for the House, the Senate, or the presidency. Next slide, please. So when you come to our phone bank, we'll introduce you to the current campaign and give you information plus resources that you can read on your own before you're calling. Also, before calling, you're going to go into a breakout room with a mentor who's going to provide small group training, and it will be at the experience level that you indicated for yourself at the beginning of the phone bank. If you are brand new to phone banking, you're going to be in a room with other people who are brand new. Our calls are made through a computer, laptop, iPhone, or tablet, and the voter will only see a local number. Your phone number is not going to appear, so your privacy is respected. And then at the end, as I said, we'll take 15 minutes for a debrief to share interesting calls. And in that debrief, we really learn from each other. We can find out better ways to have handled a certain situation or just share a funny call. There are some funny calls. And we also listen to the feedback that the phone bankers provide, whether it's about the script or the dialer, and we can pass it up the line. Currently, our partner is the California Democratic Party. They have been extremely responsive. They have changed scripts based on phone banker feedback. And in doing all of this, we build community as a phone banking team. Whether you come once a month, once a week, you'll find familiar faces, like-minded people, and really a very collegial group. So we hope you will join us with that. Okay, Betsy. So coming up, here are some phone banking events. We've got our regular Saturday phone banks all the way through November 5th. Right now, we're calling for Rudy Salas. These are Saturday mornings, 9:30 to 11:30 a.m. Pacific time. On May 18th, a special guest, Rudy Salas, is coming, and he's going to speak for a little bit, and then we'll have time for questions and answers. So you'll get a much better feel of Rudy. Then May 23rd is our introduction to phone banking. We'd love it if you would pass the word to friends and family. We need to grow our group. And this is a great way for somebody to put a toe in the water. So 4 to 5 p.m. Pacific Daylight Time, May 23rd. And then for the third of our members who live in Marin County, we have action days coming up. These are in-person days where we'll gather to phone bank and postcard together, another community building event. The first 4, all of which will be from 3 to 5 p.m., are June 9th, June 23rd, July 7th, and July 21st. Okay, well, the bottom line is that some of you may still be unsure. So I am going to have you listen to Casey Espinoza, and his testimonial is quite inspiring, and it may just address the concerns that some of you have.
Hi everybody, I'm Casey Espinosa, and I'm just going to tell you a little bit about my phone banking experience. I phone banked for the first time about a month ago, and I am a self-proclaimed introvert. I don't really like getting on the phone. It gives me a lot of anxiety, and I try to avoid it at all costs if I can. But I knew that I had to get involved this election cycle, and I wanted to do more, so I knew that phone banking was the best way for me to do that. So I had to get over my anxiety around the phone. The first time I phone banked, I relied heavily on the training that I got from the team, and the training was awesome. They walked me through everything. They showed you everything. They answered questions, which really helped ease some of the anxiety. And to be honest, it wasn't until I did a few phone banks, I think it was my second phone bank towards the end, when I started to feel really comfortable, and like I could answer any question that came my way. So just, getting into it and getting your hands dirty, so to speak, is the best way to kind of get over the anxiety. If you're an introvert like I am. I've done 5 phone banks now in this past month, and now I don't feel any anxiety. I feel confident, and I actually enjoy doing it now. So yeah, I would recommend you give it a shot, ask all the questions, practice, and just get yourself in there. Cheers.
I always love that one because I think he really underscores the importance of, yes, you may feel uncomfortable today, but your confidence grows and you will soon find you enjoy talking to voters. In any case, it's up to us. And if we turn out our voters, we're going to win in November, but we need many more callers to do that. You can really make a difference, and I hope you'll join us. Just go to indivisibleMarin.org to sign up to make calls. Once there, you can click on Take Action or Calendar, and then it'll lead you through as you sign up. So thanks so much for listening to me, and we really look forward to having you at a phone bank. And I'm going to turn it over to Alexa now so that she can talk to you about canvassing.
Okay, can you all hear me? I'm not sure you can see me yet. There you are. Thank you, everybody. Betty, that was great. Canvassing is a newer, smaller team, and I feel like the phone bankers have an incredible advantage because they got to have a testimonial. So next time we will have a testimonial too. But I want to piggyback on that testimonial because one of the reasons why I want everybody, even if you're not local, to get canvassing experience and to know the joy of canvassing and working in a team, talking to voters, is because it is actually an incredible growth experience as much as it is a very effective political strategy. I always read in our literature that the face-to-face communication is the most effective communication in political work, and I believe that's true, but it is also an amazing way to learn about the voters and to become a super communicator yourself. So I want everybody to do that, especially if you live near us in California. I think we're supposed to be talking about why you should do it with us. All right. We're trying to make it very easy for people to canvass. We have 2 people who are part of the IndiMarin leadership group, myself and George Carver, and our job is just to really make this work for our canvassers. We're working with the Bay Area Coalition, who has already been mentioned. They do an amazing job because they have a concierge service that helps with all the logistics. And what that means is that they will call you up or text you. They'll kind of chase you down, make sure you have a ride, make sure you know where to go. If it's an overnight thing, make sure that you have a place to stay. So it really helps tremendously. It makes it very smooth. They also have training, and yeah, so they do that too. They're amazing. There's an app. I don't know if you've ever been out canvassing without an app, but it's pretty paperwork intensive. Using the app is easy. It's on the phone. It's intuitive. It tells you exactly where to go. In canvassing, you meet up in a centralized place, and there's the staging managers, and they've got the literature. Often you meet the candidate, you get some additional training to get all excited, and then you go with a partner to your area, and this app tells you how to find it. It tells you what streets you have. It tells you who lives in the houses you're supposed to go to. It tells you their names. It tells you what their party affiliation is, and it tells you what questions to ask. So the app makes it much easier than you can imagine. And there's training on the app too if you need it. We do it in pairs, and I always say canvassing is a great date with your partner. So it's pretty fun. Okay, next slide. Or bring a friend too. Good way to have walking time with your friends. Okay, there's fears about canvassing too. And I want to say that, I want to go over these, but the main thing is that people feel worried that they don't know enough. What if they get asked questions they don't know the answers to? And I just want at the very beginning knock that down, because actually our strategy right now is meaningful conversations. And what that means is that we're pretty much listening. We're asking good questions and then listening. We don't really have to know details about this or that policy, though I'm sure everybody on this call actually does know enough about this or that policy. Okay, the other fear is voters will resent the intrusion of a door knock. That hasn't happened to me in the Central Valley at all, and I haven't heard that happening. It's a pretty friendly demographic. People are not home. That's true. People are sometimes not home. But yeah, we leave behind material. Then you just sort of move on to the next house. GOP voters won't be persuaded. I think that's a really interesting fear or issue. The truth is we only visit Democratic households, but you may run into Republicans because households, they've got people of various political beliefs in them. I personally kind of like it if I run into a Republican, because I'm very interested in knowing what they think, and because I'm always trying to think, well, what can I say that's useful? I don't engage. I know I can't take people out of a cult, so I don't go in and try to, change their mind, but I do try to really learn something from them. But mostly you can just move on, because it's not worth your time to put a lot of time into it, because we're there for the Democrats. It's a long day. Will I make a difference? Yes. Everything we know says that canvassing is the most effective way to communicate. All right, next slide. Thank you. We're focusing on two of these essential critical campaigns. One is Rudy Salas in Congressional 22. That's our biggest focus right now, because the other one that we're focusing on, California 13, is getting a lot of volunteers, including us. We're going there. It's actually a really great place to canvass. It's about an hour and a half away from Marin County. But they need us more in California 22. So we're going to go there. There are the demographics in both of those districts are majority Democrats, but we didn't get our people to the voting booth last time. And so our goal is to get them there, and we will have success in flipping those seats. Next. I think there's a next. Oh, yes. Okay. So we are doing a big push to get as many people as possible out there canvassing, because you will love it. And one of the things that we're doing is having our very first Intro to Canvassing meeting this week, and we have a special guest from BAC, Cecilia. Ming Minigal. I don't know. Cecilia will be there, and she is sort of the canvassing guru in this area. She has been involved with canvassing in the area for a long time and knows everything about it. And then we'll also do some more detail about all of this. So I'm hoping that people will come to that meeting. It'll be very interesting. And then we're going to have a road trip for all of us in Marin County to Tulare, which is in California 22. It's a 2-night, 3-day trip, and we're going to get as many of us as possible to go, canvass for a couple days. We'll all stay in the same hotel. We'll have community dinners. We will meet other activists, and we're going to really feel like we're part of something. And so I think it will be fantastic. We'll be effective, and we're going to be really doing something with people that we're going to want to get to know better. I think that's my last slide. Yes, it is. Thank you, everybody. And I'm going to turn it over to the postcarding gurus.
Thank you, Alexa. I look forward to the day that I can join you guys and do some canvassing too. Oh, wait a minute. Am I unmuted? Okay. Sorry, guys.
You're good, Joy.
I am. Okay. Something on my screen here. Okay. So postcarding with IndiMarin. We have an amazing, wonderful group of people who postcard. And the thing about postcarding, it is easy, convenient, and we have found through all kinds of data that it definitely works. What makes an effective postcard? Postcards, I can't get something in my view. I'm sorry, you guys, hold on one second. There we go. Information that contrasts the candidates, information about where they can vote and dates and websites that they can go to get all the information they need. We do get out the vote messages to make sure they know how to get their ballots, where they should go. And the great thing about the postcards is that they're handwritten and they're personal, which you can see there's a picture here. It just shows we've got stars, we have stickers that say vote. And what are the voters who respond best to these postcards? It's the low frequency voters and the low information voters. And those are the ones we really need to get out and get to the polls to help us make a difference. Next slide, Betsy. Postcarding. So we have several options for postcarding. We have a section for if you're anywhere across the United States, you can go to our website. You can go in and say, take action, and then you can go and it says write voters, and you'll see all of these options available. For the online requests, Lori handles those, and we're working for 3 campaigns for the online requests. We're doing California 13, we're doing Ohio, and we're still continuing with Nevada, which we worked on last month. The way you request, for online requests, you need to have your own supplies, which we suggest that you get before you request them. Once you have your postcards, your stickers, whatever you want to do to make your postcard kind of fun, you request the online addresses from Lori. She will send you that and a script. Excuse me. And then we've just started host your own postcard parties. Also, for online, you can request however many addresses you want from Lori. When you sign up to host a postcard party, there is a toolkit that goes through everything with you that you need, how to do it. We are there to help in any way that we can. If you're local, for your first event, we actually can come to the event with you. We can bring packets for you, which I'll get into a little bit later, our packets, which include everything. So inside, we've got the stamps, we've got the postcards, we've got the stickers, and it comes with the address and the script. Excuse me. And then we also have local events. I'm very proud to say we have Panera every Tuesday in Novato. We have an amazing group. We meet from 10 to 11:30, and we write postcards together. And we've been at Panera, I think, since 2019. So if you join us, you'll see there's just a wonderful group of postcarders. Of course, you have to be local for that event. We also have bins. Oh, that's right. I'm sorry. I'm going to go back. We too are going to be at the action days, which will be Sundays from 3 to 5, the same dates that Betty mentioned for the phone banking. And then we have our packet pickup program. We have 2 bins, one in Greenbrae, one in Novato. Packets are pre-made. They're in the bins. You go online again, go under write, request how many packets that you want. And when you request them, it'll send you the address of the 2 bins. The postcard packets do cost $5 a packet, and that's to help defer some of our expense so that we can keep this wonderful program going. Next slide, please, Betsy. Oh, here's just an example, guys, of how this is the blue cards that we use. And just to see, we have highlights with different color ink, stars. We want people to go to their mailbox, see the postcard, and be curious enough to read it. And hopefully that grabs their attention. And as I always say at my event, if we get 1 out of 10, that's 1 more than we had before. Next slide, Betsy. Lori did this wonderful graph for us. You can see the enthusiasm is growing like crazy. We have already sent out 28,000 postcards to date, and we are looking to get to a road of 100,000. Please come and join me if you can, or request our packets from bins or online from Lori. Next slide, please. These are the current campaigns that we're working on. For the bins and for my Panera event, we are writing in support of President Biden and Senator Sherrod Brown. We are having, it tells them how to get their ballots and how to vote and what they need to do. Excuse me, throat. And the goal is to increase early voting. And again, to make sure everybody is registered and have their ballots. And then with Lori, again, you can get this same campaign, or you can also continue writing for California 13 to support Adam Gray, which is for reproductive freedom. And the goal is to contrast with the Republican incumbent. And we're also still continuing with Jackie Rosen in Nevada, again, with the online program. Next slide, please, Betsy. Well, guys, thank you very much for being here. I hope I get to meet and see some of you soon. And I'm going to now turn it over to Andy for texting.
Hi, everyone. I'm Andy Triolo. I head up the texting team with IndiMarin. And we have just recently sort of rebooted our texting program.
Next.
We've been working on identifying campaigns that will be worth our volunteers' time. So I just want to say a few words about texting in general and why I choose to head up this team. I don't think any other tool offers such capacity to reach voters. There are studies that show that more than 90% of initial outgoing text messages are read, even if there is not voter engagement. So that's a lot of eyeballs on an important message that we can be spreading. Texting is generally considered to be most effective in get out the vote campaigns and to recruit volunteers. Next slide. So our team, we don't do texting ourselves. We partner with organizations and campaigns that are working in the same space that we support. But we have texting mentors on our team that can offer one-to-one support for those of you who want to get started with this tactic, but maybe have some difficulty with the technological aspects of it. We maintain a virtual team meeting space on Slack that we use as a communication tool to talk about the most impactful current texting opportunities. And we also ask our team to chime in and to write so that the space becomes more lively and we can share experiences and even, share information on campaigns that perhaps I'm not personally aware of. You can also look for in-person texting if you're local here in Marin at our IndiMarin Action Days, as was cited in the postcarding and phone banking sections. And so I invite you to visit indivisibleMarin.org to join our text team. When you get there, click on Take Action and then Text Voters, and you'll have an opportunity to sign up. And then I or one of my team members will reach out to you and see if we can get you started. You'll receive an invitation to join that Slack group so that you can dial yourself in and check things out there. And then lastly, whether you're on the text team or not, I would say set a calendar reminder for yourself to visit our Slack channel or to engage in whatever tactic it is that you have selected for yourself. And I think we'll be talking more about this later, but scheduling your time between now and November is a valuable structure to support you in your activism. Next slide. So we are currently promoting a DCCC campaign. As Lori had mentioned earlier in the presentation, the DCCC, which is the Democratic Congressional Campaign Committee, is actually funding texting outreach. I think this is the first time they've ever done this, to elect Democrats to critical House races across the country. They already have text banks scheduled all the way through early July. Unfortunately, the platform is Hustle, which is not as elegant as some other tools available out there, but it's what we've got, and we feel that this is a very worthy and valuable campaign to get in on. We'll be working on getting out the vote and doing candidate recognition in the most flippable House districts across the country, and that includes those important California districts. And we'll be doing volunteer recruitment nationwide. Next slide. So now I'm going to turn it over to Susan, who's going to talk to you about more ways to take action to help Dems win.
Thank you so much. Okay. Yeah, before I talk about Dems Make Life Better, I want to acknowledge that it's 5:02. We work very hard to keep our meetings on track. And as you may have noticed, we had a lot of content that we wanted to share with you all. So for any of you that have a hard stop at 5, please don't feel shy about signing off. We will send the recording to everyone. If you're able to hang in with us for another 5-10 minutes, we do have some more information to present, but as we said, you could listen to the recording. So don't be shy about dropping off, and we'll in the future endeavor to keep our meetings a little tighter to the actual hour allocated. But quickly, Dems Make Life Better is a very exciting project, and it's a way that you can help Dems win in your daily life. Sometimes it's hard to make time to sign up for a phone bank, sign up to Canvas, etc. But hey, if you're just going to the grocery store or taking your dog for a walk or any of the things you do regularly, if you put on a Dems Make Life Better t-shirt, and on the back you'll see it lists the ways that Dems make life better, you are a walking, talking billboard for the Dems. And these shirts are really designed to be conversation starters. I've been wearing mine out and about and get frequent interactions with people usually positive, like, love your shirt, go Dems. Well, that's an opportunity to engage and say, thanks so much. Hey, would you like to learn a little bit about ways you might get active in helping Dems win? Or depending on where you live, you might not always get the most positive. You might get, I don't think that. Look at the price of eggs here, or whatever. But that is also an opportunity to have those meaningful conversations. So this website, demsmakelifebetter.org, provides a range of merch, including the shirts in Spanish. We've got toddler shirts, we've got pins and lawn signs, but we also offer toolkits for people that wear the shirt. One is about how to have meaningful conversations, and it's a lot about active listening and asking questions and being curious with the person you're talking to, as well as substantiation for the ways listed. So I don't want to belabor this, but it's a very exciting opportunity to message for Dems in your daily life. So go to the website, demsmakelifebetter.org. Hopefully you'll buy some merch and get out in the world and spread the word and tell your friends. So with that, we are going to now go into the optional Q&A. Before we do that, I want to oh, I'm sorry, I missed a whole section. Okay, so this is our call to action. As we've said several times, our website is your home base. You're ever thinking like, gee, I really want to do more. I've got some free time this week, but I don't know what to do. Come to IndivisibleMarin.org. You can scan through the pages. You could go to the calendar and find something that might be something you've never tried before, or just something that you want to do again. So please always, when you're looking for stuff to do, IndivisibleMarin.org, and as you'll see, the take action part of the nav bar is the heart of the site. And then when you go to those drop downs, you'll get all the links and details you need for every tactic. Next slide, please. And here's an idea that we want to throw out to all of you. And it relates back to something Jess was talking about how do we build structure into our goals to be contributing to saving democracy and protecting our freedoms. Like with any goals in our life, say I want to lose 5 pounds, which actually I do. If I said to myself, okay, Susan, just eat a little less, that probably is not going to result in much of a change at the scale. But instead, if I create some kind of a structure for myself, and then I follow that, I will be much more likely to have success. So what we're proposing is that you all create a weekly calendar invite for you, yourself, and you. It can be 10 minutes every Monday. It's just a check-in. Go to the website, see what's new, evaluate your week. Maybe you have a busy week and you can't do much. Maybe you have an open week and you have time to sign up. But every week, have that be a promise to yourself that you're going to spend 10 minutes thinking about what can I do this week? And then you have your action plan for the week. So we really hope that you will take that idea and put it into practice as a discipline. And with that, we will open it to the optional Q&A. If you'd like to sign off, we just really want to thank you for coming. Thank you for your time. Thank you for your patience with a few more tech glitches than we usually have, but maybe it's a full moon or I don't know what. But we really appreciate your hanging in with us and hope you were inspired by Jess, as we all always are. And with that, we will move into the Q&A portion. We've been collecting questions from the chat, and I will start to ask, express them and lob them to the people within the team who are best able to answer the questions. So one that's really a great one is I can't make phone calls on Saturday mornings. Will there be another session for phone calling on another day and time? And can people call on their own after being trained? So I'm going to turn that question over to Betty because she's got some excellent answers for that. Are you able to unmute, Betty?
Right. We do have the option of calling on your own. And so what you would do, we do want you to be trained though. So you could contact us at info@indivisibleMarin.com and just say you would like a phone bank mentor to contact you, and we'll set up a private training. And then also toward the end of June, we're adding a second phone bank, a weekday phone bank. Likely it'll be Tuesday afternoons. So I don't know if that would work better for you, but that is also an option.
Super. So Lisa asked, do we have any unique new methods for reaching through the clutter? And I would offer that the Dems Make Life Better initiative is a unique way for reaching through the clutter because it's something we can do out in the world, 24/7. We could wear our shirt every day until November. So I think that's an important way. There's also a program through the DNC called Reach. And for those of you who are interested in taking a Reach workshop, it gives you a phone app and a lot of ways that you can reach out, both within your networks to people you know, and also to people that you encounter. You can register voters via Reach. You can log them as pro-Dem in the same way as a phone banker or a canvasser would log. So this is a great method for people who might not have the time to attend a phone bank at a specific time or is time constrained. The Reach app is another way that you can be doing this work out in your daily life. I don't know if any other of the presenters have thoughts on this question, any unique new methods for reaching through the clutter. Would anyone like to add to that?
Sure. I think that you're going to see a big emphasis, and this goes back to what Alexa was saying. With the pandemic now in a different stage, it's really moved to in-district work. So you're going to see a lot more canvassing, a lot more in-district events. The candidates are much more involved on the ground. We can't win this election anymore from our living rooms, though what you're doing is still incredibly important and impactful. But I think you're seeing much more live in-person stuff happening now compared to previous elections.
That's great. I guess the other thing I'd like to say, and it's not in response to a question, but just something that I've been thinking about lately in terms of how we can all have maximum impact. There are a lot of meetings being held, a lot of groups, a lot of speakers, and it can be a real time suck to attend a lot of meetings. At IndiMarin, we really try to make sure that our meetings tie to actions. And that's not always the case with some of the meetings out there. They might be just talking about, messaging in a sort of an esoteric way, or talking about the electoral landscape. But really encourage you guys in your personal evaluation of how you can be most impactful is always bring it back to action, because attending a whole bunch of meetings, if in fact you're not engaging voters, you're not really being productive, honestly. And the other thing I would offer up is the time that many people spend listening to the news, reading the news, talking to friends about the news. Again, that isn't productive time. So I personally now have this kind of blinders approach of is just one foot in front of the other. What can I do today that is going to have impact on getting more people to vote? And I really try to not be paying attention to the noise, the clutter, going to a lot of meetings that are just blah, blah, blah. But really, when you're looking at ways to be impactful, ask yourself, is this action-oriented? Will I be engaging with voters and prioritize those kinds of meetings and actions? Okay, that was my little soapbox there. Let me find the questions file. I've lost it. Too many windows are open here. Here we go. Okay, this is an interesting question from Anand. Will Indivisible San Francisco and IndiMarin work for the same races and end up texting the same people? I'll say a few words and then I think I'll toss it to Lori. So I'm going to answer more broadly than just relative to Indivisible San Francisco and IndiMarin, because honestly, I'm not exactly sure what Indivisible San Francisco is focused on. But there is a challenge in voter outreach about overlapping in voter outreach work. And it has to do with some unfortunate electoral laws through the Federal Election Commission that state that candidates and the parties cannot coordinate with groups referred to as IE groups, which are often groups like Swing Left or Indivisible. So it does lead to some unnecessary duplication, but there isn't that much of a way to work around it. One thing we've done at Indivisible Marin is we have not registered as an official group of any sort. We're not a 501c4, we're not a PAC, and therefore we have the latitude to work with candidates, to work with the DNC, to work with the independent expenditure groups. So the redundancy is a little bit of a necessary evil, but I think we're all working to minimize that, I guess is the best I can say. Lori, would you like to add to that?
Sure. I think what we're seeing, especially in California, is really a consolidation. The candidates are pretty much outsourcing all of their remote voter outreach to other groups. So you're not seeing that kind of duplication anymore, which is a great thing here in California. There is inevitably some, especially if you live in a state like Pennsylvania or Michigan. There definitely isn't. Part of it we can't do anything about, but I think we're seeing a lot more coordination and a lot less of that in this cycle than I've ever seen before. It's very, very tight. With the return now to the candidates having a much bigger role in their own districts and having to make appearances and rallies and town halls, where there's just not as much duplication. Everybody sort of has their niche and they're working that way. So a little bit is okay, but I don't think we're going to see it as much as we've seen it in the past this year.
Right. And here's a question from Christine in Arizona. I love this. I'd love to canvass with you, but I live in Arizona. Can't drive to California. So we would sure love to have you with us, Christine. I suppose flying is a possibility, but given that you live in Arizona, which is a crucial state, I think we'd encourage you to canvass in Arizona, and we would be absolutely happy to connect you with groups in Arizona where you can be canvassing near where you live. So please reach out to us. Please, everybody, feel free to reach out to us at any time. info@indivisibleMarin.org. indivisible.org. Those emails come to me. I answer a lot of them, and if I don't answer them, I hand them off to one of the steering committee members. We strive to get back to people within 24 hours. So please send us your questions. We love hearing from all of you. See, Rick is asking, most of the Indy partners send me messages about helping. Which should I respond to and which stop? You know, this is a great question, and I think it speaks to a broader issue, which is that we're all inundated with pleas from different organizations to help and from different places to donate, and it can feel very overwhelming. That's why we try to offer you guys a home base, because we've really done our homework. We're going to be working with all of the national partners like the DNC, the DCCC, working here in California. We'll be working on Senate races. So, I mean, honestly, I'd love to say just unsubscribe from other groups and work with us. But if there's something that's specific to where you live that we're not doing, we would always welcome the opportunity to make an introduction for you to a group that we know is doing good work. So we're very happy to help you sort through the most impactful groups you can work with. Okay, let's see, what else have we got here? Lisa's suggesting stickers with Dems Make Life Better to put on our postcards. That's a cool idea. We'll look into that. I love that idea. All right, Zubin is asking, why are we ignoring GOP voters? I
answered it a little bit in the chat, Susan. I'm happy to
you want
to
to
say it.
elaborate?
Yeah, where we need their votes, like Ohio and Montana, we will definitely be doing that kind of persuasion talk. We're in a great position in that we have the voters in pretty much everywhere we need to win. The problem isn't so much that we need to increase them as that we need to get them to the polls, because turnout is the issue. So that's where our major priority is going to be, is turning out the voters that we already have. And registering more voters. But certainly in any area that's close, you're going to be seeing persuasion. You'll see it in California 41 with Will Rollins, because that's a 50-50 district. In the Central Valley, where we have 18% already voter registration advantage, the challenge is getting our own voters to the poll. So it's an individual thing, but we definitely will. It's just a little early in the year. That persuasion voting will happen later in the summer, closer to the election.
Okay, great. Here's a question from Paul, again, probably to Lori. Are candidates being carefully screened so we don't waste valuable time working for candidates like Kristen Sinema?
Great question. I don't think anybody saw Kristen Sinema coming.
He's
the party screens
to the past.
Yeah, I don't think we need to really screen our candidates, where they're very well known to the party, and they've all been endorsed. I'm not worried that we have another Kristen Sinema out there in any of the races that we're working in this year. But we are just working in those races where we feel we have a really good chance, and one of those determinants is having a really good candidate, and we do have good candidates in all of our races. So.
Yes. So as Lori explained in her presentation, we are only working in toss-up races. So, you know, that really increases your impact when you know you're working in the most important races in the country. So Lisa's asking, and I'm not entirely understanding, but I'll do my best here. It's a question about canvassing. And she's saying that, I think what she's saying is that sometimes a voter will say, X issue is making me reluctant to vote for this candidate. And she's saying she would like to be able to be nimble in being able to respond to those issues at the door. Alexa, would you like to field that?
Sure. I think that is something that does happen, and the way that we're managing that right now is to find out why they feel the way they do and to find a shared value, because usually there's something in their concern that you can relate to, and then let them talk and then switch topics to something that they have a different feeling about, if you can, just sort of do a natural topic and move to, a related but different thing. For instance, maybe, if they're talking about something about women go to reproductive rights or something, but I'd say just meet them where they are, share a value, and then pivot. Unless you really have something persuasive to say.
Yeah. And everyone, if you're not speaking, if you could please mute, we're getting some background noise. That would be great. Okay, let's see, what else have we got? We might be about ready to wrap. So Alexander Wong is saying that he's a 32-year-old millennial, and I'll just say shout out to you if you're still here as a 32-year-old millennial. And he's saying that he's trying to write an open letter to other young people in America about the importance of saving democracy, standing up to extremism, but isn't sure how to broadcast his message to people all across America. Does anyone know how I can get my letter seen by an organization that can use it for presidential election campaign somehow? So what I would say realistically is that getting citizen generated messaging to be used by campaigns and candidates is hard because, of course, they have all hired their experts that are creating their messaging. But what we can do is get our messages out to other citizens in all the ways that we all know about it, and especially you millennials are so great at, through social media, TikTok, sending a group email to your friends. I would just encourage you to be creative with all of the technology out there, because it really is important to get more millennials engaged. Right now, there's a lot of discouragement with millennials and Gen Z on a number of issues, Gaza probably being at the top, but a range of issues. So I think millennials speaking to millennials, Gen Z speaking to Gen Z, and laying out the reasons why supporting Biden-Harris, electing Dems, you're really in an extremely influential role. So it really comes down to grassroots efforts. I think we've covered all the questions, and it's getting now to 5:30. I really appreciate so many of you hanging in. We will send the recording to everybody and post it on our website. And we're always available, info@indivisibleMarin.org. We love hearing from you. If you have ideas of ways you'd like to become more active, we have a recruitment engagement team. That's their job, is not only recruiting, but also helping members who are looking for ideas for how to engage, how to plug in. You'll get a personal one-to-one consult with, you tell the members of the team what really floats your boat, what you're most interested in, and they will make it possible for you get to plugged into something that's meaningful for you. So I guess in closing, thank you for being here. Thank you for spending an hour and a half. And I really hope that you will take to heart this idea of creating a meeting with yourself every Monday morning, 10 minutes, where you just spend 10 minutes reflecting on what can I do this week? And then visit our site and look for, okay, there's a phone bank on Tuesday and I do have that opening. I'm going to sign up for that. Or, gee, I really am slammed this week. Maybe I'll sign up to order some postcards that I can do in front of the television. But make that a practice every week. And I think you'll really find that you are making a contribution, and making a contribution is the best antidote to the stress, the anxiety, the angst that all of us face every time we turn on the news. So let's turn anxiety into action. Thank you so much for being with us.